Okay, good morning. We are almost done with this week, with it being a short week and all. Big item tomorrow is your what? Tomorrow's the exam, the test. Okay, so parabolas are going to be on there. The exit ticket I'm going to pass back. One of the questions is going to be very similar to that. You've got binomial theorem on there. The exit ticket we did last week is going to be very similar to what you see on the test tomorrow. So if you do have any last minute questions, let me know. I'm going to be here in the morning at 7:45. Let's see. We're about to finish up circles. We're going to go ahead and rewrite the general form, and then we'll move on from there. Okay? Are there any questions about what's coming up? All right, well, let's do it. This is the last question in the circle notes. Number 7. It says a circle contains the points 0, 0, 6, 8, and 7, 7. Find the standard form equation of the circle by solving a system of 3 equations. Okay, so there's the standard form that we're getting used to when dealing with circles. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals the radius squared. So one at a time, in order to create the equations that will give me my system, we're going to plug those points, the x and y values, into that particular form. So for example, 0, 0, x equals 0, y equals 0. Well, if I were to plug 0 in here, 0 minus h squared would actually become what? H squared. Same thing would happen. 0 minus k squared would just be k squared. And then that would equal the radius squared. Okay, so there's my first equation. Okay. Now the others are going to take a little bit of algebra. So I'm going to take 6 and 8. So x minus h squared would become 6 minus h squared plus y minus k squared. 8 minus k squared is equal to the radius squared. And now we just want to expand, simplify as much as possible. What would 6 minus h squared look like if I expanded it? Okay, Satish. 36. Minus 12 what? H. Perfect. Okay, so you can go ahead and write it side by side, use FOIL, the distributive property. We've talked about this before. There was a little rhyme. You guys remember square the left, square the right, double the middle. Sixth period actually came up with a really good way to finish that rhyme, because you're always rhyming right with right. It was really very sloppy. But they were saying you square the left, you square the right, you double the middle, the answer's in sight. So I can tell you guys are really on board with that. Okay. But however you want to go ahead and expand it. Somebody tell me, what is 8 minus k squared? What? Straight up bars?
Bars, yeah. Never mind. You can continue.
Okay. All right. 8 minus k squared. Okay, so teach again. So 64 minus 16k plus k squared equals r squared. Straight up bars. Is that a new phrase? Oh, it's not really new? What does that mean?
Like, those were some fire lyrics, like a song or whatever it is.
So it means something is really good. Okay. So when someone mentions pre-calculus, straight up bars. Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
When you say something.
When you say something. Oh, you have to say
So
something.
it's like a rap verse or something.
Oh,
Sarcastic fashion, but I mean, you give her like
fair enough.
no way to
Fair.
salvage it.
Okay. Straight up bars. Okay. But now we have a couple of like terms, and you'll notice because of the first equation, we know that h squared plus k squared equals r squared, right? So I could take the h squared plus the k squared, I could replace it with r squared, and you'll notice what's going to happen if I choose one of those and move it to the other. How would I move one r squared to the other side? I'd go ahead and subtract it, right? But what happens? There you go. So this guy just equals 0. Okay. So we've got 36 plus 64 is going to give me 100. And what I would do just to avoid the negative coefficients, and in the long run it really doesn't matter, but you could take the negative 12h and the negative 16k and add those to the other side. So here's my second equation. 100 should equal 12h plus 16k. So all I did was manipulate that equation the way I had it. Okay. Now we're going to do this one more time for the final point, 7, 7. So this would be 7 minus h squared plus 7 minus k squared is equal to the radius squared. Okay, so what is the expansion of 7 minus h squared? Okay, so 49 minus 14h plus h squared. Now the other one's going to be identical, except the h's are going to be k's. So this would be 49 minus 14k plus k squared, once again equals the radius squared. Okay. So again, we have h squared plus k squared equals r squared. So I'll just go ahead and do what I did on the previous problem. I just won't show as much work. The h squared and the k squared will actually cancel with the r squared. 49 plus 49? 98. Let's go ahead and add both the h and the k term over. So this should be my third equation. 98 equals 14h plus 14k. Okay, so you have 3 equations, but only 2 unknowns. So the first one is useful, but really this is the system that you're solving. Okay, we need to find h and k. So that's going to give me the center. I'm still going to need to figure out what the radius is, but we'll get to that when we get there. Okay, but what are some of the methods you guys talked about in Algebra 2 to solve a system? What are some strategies? Calculator is another good one. I'll show you that in just a second. Where you subtract them? Okay, elimination. We have substitution. I think you guys did matrices. He showed you how to do the inverse. Did he show you Cramer's rule? Cramer's rule is another really great strategy. But however you go ahead and decide to do it, I'll show you the technology way in just a minute. But just to save some time, I went ahead and solved it using elimination. Okay. I chose to eliminate the h's. It allowed me to solve for k, which I got 4. And then I took that answer and I started to work backwards, plugged it back into one of the original equations, does not matter which one. So 98 equals 14h plus 14 times 4 allowed me to find h equals 3. Okay. But any method you want, and I always encourage you, even if you have the technology, it's always a good idea, try to run through these previous strategies. It's just good algebra. It's just good practice. Helps you remember how to do all those things. But if you do have the calculator, it can definitely go a lot faster. Okay, so I'll give you a few seconds to go ahead and copy that down if you're wanting to. Okay. And then I'll go ahead and show you on the calculator. I believe I've shown you this before, but if not, that's okay. Oh, yeah. That's a great way to do it. Row echelon, okay, the row operations. He taught you how to do that too?
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. So creating the augmented matrix and all that good stuff? Nice. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you remember the identity for a 2x2 matrix?
Like the pattern of...
Yes.
So you need zeros in the bottom. 3, or right corner, bottom 3. You need to have 1.
Yeah, the ones were always on the diagonal from row 1, column 1, all the way down to the last row, last column. Those were all ones. Everything else was 0. Very good. Cool. All right, so let me go ahead and show you the calculator. So you go to your scratch pad. So I do want to go to menu. Does anybody remember where to go from here? Algebra. And then we are solving a system. So we're just going to have to change h and k to x and y. Okay. But the nice thing about this, doesn't matter if they're in standard form, slope intercept, you just type the equations in directly, and it'll go ahead and give you what you need. Like the first one, 100. The equals is right here below control. And I believe that was 12x plus 16y. Then go down to the other one where we had 98 equals 14x plus 14y. Okay. And you push enter. There you go. Okay, 3, 4. Have I shown you that before? Thought I did. Okay. All right. So we have half of what we need. Let me come on back over here. Now, of course, this one's a little more straightforward because it's going through the origin. If it hadn't, then you'd have ended up with, 3 equations that look like that, and basically you just would have chosen a couple and solved the same way. But we know so far that because h is 3, x minus 3 squared, plus k was 4, y minus 4 squared, equals, the only thing we need is the radius. And for that, I'm going to go back to the original equation. H squared plus k squared equals r squared. So h squared plus k squared equals r squared. And hopefully you'll recognize that as a 3, 4, 5. Okay. So if the radius is 5, that means the squared radius has to be 25. So this should be the equation of the circle that contains 0, 0, 6, 8, and 7, 7. Okay, questions? Everybody's okay? All right. Well, here is what we're going to go ahead and do next. Somewhere on your notes, okay, maybe on the back or something, I've got another general form here, and I want you to rewrite it using completing the square. Okay, give me the standard form of the circle, find me the center, and then find me the radius. Now, probably next week, because I'm hoping we're going to be able to start hyperbolas by then, I'm going to show you a method where you can actually analyze the general form and tell what kind of conic you're dealing with before you go ahead and start to manipulate it. In fact, you're going to use this expression right here. Does that look familiar? B squared minus 4AC? Okay. It was part of what formula? Quadratic formula, it is the radicand of your radical. So if you take the coefficients and you plug them into this, depending on the number you get, that would tell you what type of conic you're going to deal with, whether it's a parabola or a circle or so forth. Now this one, it's a circle because it's part of the circle lesson. But for one thing, it's really not necessary to always do the algebra. You could probably just be able to look at what you have and tell me what type of conic we should end up with. Like, how would I know this isn't a parabola? Because both x and y are squared. That's a good indication right there. So it's got to be a circle, ellipse, or a hyperbola. Now, do you notice anything about the quadratic terms? And the fact that this is going to be a circle? They have the same coefficients. If it's a circle, they have to have the same coefficients. Okay. If they have different coefficients, it's going to be an ellipse. If one of those coefficients happens to be negative, then it's going to turn out to be a hyperbola. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, while you guys are working on that, I'm going to pass back all the papers I have, and then by the time I finish, hopefully we can get somebody up here to go ahead and complete the square for me and show me the equation. All right. Yes, sir. One more time. Mm-hmm. Is the homework still out there? Okay. Would you give it to Jacob when you're done, sir? Okay. All right. Kyle, are you still needing the homework as well? Okay. And Jacob, when you're done, would you give it to Kyle? Okay. Oops, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. Forward. Christian. Mary. Jake. Bethany. Susie.
Yeah, I will.
Check. Oh, I'm going to talk about that. Raphael. Come. Jacob. Sit down. Jeanette. Christian. L.A. Step. Okay, and that is all the papers. Did anybody else need... Okay, it's a serious assignment. Is the parabola key still out there? Kyle, do you have the parabola key? Okay, here, okay. All right. Okay, so who wants to come on up and rewrite this equation for me? So many hands. How am I going to choose? Okay. Let's see here. So this class actually goes up to 33. Okay. All right, so no volunteers? Okay, so who will volunteer? 31. Nobody's in that seat. 33. Oh, I forgot 34. Oh, no, 33 is Jack. Oh, but Dylan, I accidentally forgot about you. You can come up here if you want to. Are you sure, Jack? Are you okay? Because I know how badly you wanted to come up. Okay. Sorry about that. All right, so there we go. Okay. All right, good. Remember, in order to complete the square, you have to have a 1 in front of your quadratic term, 1x squared, 1y squared. So he's dividing everything through by 4. Okay, and he's making room for his values. Okay. And how do we complete the square again? I keep forgetting.
You half that and then square it.
Half the value, square the result. Okay. So 4 divided by 2 squared. 6 divided by 2 squared. Okay. And then we want to maintain the balance, so we're going to add both the 9 and the 4 on the other side. Perfect. Okay. And now he is condensing the perfect square trinomials. Good. X minus 2 squared plus y plus 3 squared equals 22. What do we think? That is correct. So what would my center be? 2, negative 3 with a radius of square root of 22, because it's always squared in the equation. Very good. How many people got that right? Good. Now, if you're not raising your hand, is there something I can help you with? Was it just a time issue? So just a little mistake? Okay. So it's all bars?
Yes.
Is that what we said a second? You said it's all bars, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not how you use them at all.
Hey, I learn something new every day too. My vocabulary needs to be on fleek. That's still a thing, right? No, no longer on fleek. Okay. Along with Jimmy Carter. Wow, that is dark.
He is dead, right?
I don't think so.
What?
I believe Jimmy Carter is still alive.
Oh,
Yeah, isn't he also a big player in the Homes for Habitat? Yep.
It was George W.
Wait, what about this?
Actually, I think
Now Nixon is dead. Yes.
Carter's the oldest alive president.
Yeah.
I think he was the same age as George.
Yeah. Now George Bush Sr. passed away.
He should run again. No one thought to vote for him. He's so bad.
What? If he goes against Trump, surely he would get more votes. I don't. No way. No way. If you put Carter against Trump, Trump would win.
Okay, he's one of the most disliked presidents along with Nixon.
Okay, now that could be said about either one, but at least he knew what he was doing.
That's
Oh. Okay, let's get back to math. Oh God. Ugh. Come on, November 2020. Anyways. That's actually all I have for today. The original plan was to go ahead and give you the rest of the time to go ahead and work on your assignment, but I got to thinking about it this morning. I don't want to go ahead and give you homework over the Easter weekend. Okay, you probably have other things to go ahead and take care of. So this right here is not an assignment that's going to be picked up. Now, I would encourage you to go ahead and look at it because your quiz next Thursday is going to be over circles. Okay, and first period had a really good idea that if anybody was to complete the packet, that would count as the bonus for that quiz. And because it's a packet, that means it's going to be worth 10 points. Okay. So you do have to complete the packet if you want to get the 10 points on next Thursday's circle quiz. Bonus of 10 points. We don't want to go crazy. Okay, so 10, you could get 110. Now, the test tomorrow is going to have a bonus on it. It's actually mathematical tomorrow. It's not going to be comic book. But you actually have a decent amount of time. We still have a good 20 minutes before the bell rings. So if you wanted to go ahead and get started on the circle packet, if you wanted to go ahead and just take the time to prepare for the exam, I mean, perfect opportunity to go ahead and do either. Okay. Or if you want to go ahead and contemplate how Carter would be a better president than Trump, that would also be good. Don't think I'm going to change a few minds in here, but you're definitely not going to change my mind on that. All right.